Greetings, Central. Thank you for your prayers, your patience, and your commitment in serving the Lord and each other. As some consider their return to worship, we want to present and ensure a safe and healthy worship experience. Our COVID team has put this presentation together for that purpose. Each ministry will come and share their encouragement with you, beginning with Dr. Harving of the Ministry of Health. Sister Harving.
We all have witnessed the ramifications of COVID-19. It was clear early in the pandemic that this virus and its effects should not be taken lightly, and it was and remains imperative to stay abreast of CDC guidelines and city and state mandates as we pray and make decisions regarding the health and well-being of the congregation. God is good, and He has blessed us with a vaccine that has proven to provide protection against the severe effects of COVID-19. Consider vaccination if you have not been vaccinated already. It does provide added protection. There are many myths and information being provided from various resources. Ask your questions, do your research, pray, and make an informed decision. As individuals began to get vaccinated, data revealed the number of individuals testing positive for COVID-19 significantly decreased. As a result of the improved statistics, several mandates, including the state of emergency, were lifted. These are great advances, and we give God thanks. However, we must continue to be vigilant and being mindful that the virus still exists. In addition, viruses tend to mutate, and COVID-19 is no different. As variations or mutations of the virus merges, such as the Delta variant, which accounts for 83% of the virus in the United States, more recent data is actually revealing increase in positivity rates. Also, as a state, we have not met herd immunity. As of July 4th, 57% of the needed 80% have been vaccinated. Keeping all these things in mind, we will need to continue to make appropriate precautions. We all must continue to do our part in keeping ourselves and our church family safe. Therefore, we will continue with the following. Temperature checking. As an extra precautionary measure, you will have your temperature checked upon arriving to the building. Continue to practice social distancing. Signage will remain throughout the building to help assist us with the 6 feet distancing. Mask wearing, covering your nose and mouth at all times to prevent and limit exposure to others. This has proven to be key in preventing the spread of COVID-19. In addition, the COVID-19 screening survey, we're asking that the screening be completed before arriving to the building. The survey serves as a screening tool, helping us to identify possible risks for having COVID-19, and it should prompt you to do a self-inventory of your health. In addition, you will be receiving a survey shortly requesting information regarding your vaccine status. Please know that it will be anonymous. You'll simply be asked if you've been vaccinated or what your intentions are. This information will provide insight as it relates to our congregational immunity status. This information can be helpful to the leadership as plans are made regarding restarting gatherings at the building. It is not collected to enforce vaccination or to discriminate in any way. Percentages and numbers will be the only information shared with leadership, as I mentioned, to help guide decisions. Reminder, all information collected is kept confidential, and we use HIPAA guidelines for that. All of our practices and protocols will be evaluated frequently and revised as deemed necessary, as we'll be updated with CDC guidelines and things that would change in regards to protocols. Our response to this pandemic, I believe, has been outstanding. It has been great to see so many of your faces as you return to the building. A special thanks to all of the brothers and sisters who continue to dedicate their time and to assist with the implementation of this process. Please continue to keep us in your prayers as we work to make this a safe place to worship. Thank you.
As far as concerning our buildings operation, our responsibility is the cleanliness and the sanitation of our building. We have a cleaning crew that comes in weekly to clean and sanitize our sanctuary and our bathrooms. We make every effort to wipe down the door handles and the handrails so that the congregants can feel safe as they come to the building for worship. We also have, at this time, have gated off our old sanctuary, which is not in use at this time. But we make every effort to make sure that the sanctuary as well as the balcony is clean at all times. We drain and clean the baptismal pool weekly so that it can be safe for those who at that one time we might have to baptize them. At this time, we're continuing to improve if we have any new products that we want to use to make sure that we stay on top of the cleanliness of our building so that those who come can feel safe that the building is free from COVID-19.
Hello, everyone. I stand before you to talk about certain signage that you're going to see as you enter back into the church building. If you look at our first slide, we definitely want to welcome everyone back to the church building as you come together on Sunday mornings to worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. As we do ask, as Sister Harvin talked about a little bit earlier, Dr. Harvin, we don't want anybody that's entering to the building, if you feel sick or you're experiencing symptoms, these following symptoms: chills, repeated shaking with chills, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, fever, cough, and or shortness of breath. We always want to remind you to wear your face covering at all times. Definitely wash your hands and use hand sanitizer frequently, as well as maintain your physical distance of 6 feet. As we go to our next slide, the elevator protocol. Those that need the elevator, you'll see these signs posted. We always want to remind you to wear your face covering at all times, maintain the physical distancing while you wait for the elevator. And at this time, due to the size of the elevator, we only want to allow 2 people at a time in the elevator, as one or the opposite ends of each other if you're in the actual elevator. Next, we want to discuss our restrooms. As you see the current theme here, we're asking everybody to maintain wearing your face covering at all times. Definitely want to use proper hygiene as washing your hands and using hand sanitizer frequently, as well as maintain physical distancing at all times. This is a sign that you'll see as you enter the restrooms. Also, inside of the restrooms, you'll see this decal that is listed, or placed rather, on the mirrors in the bathroom. So wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. We want to make sure that if you do have anything on your hands, that your hands will be properly cleaned. So our next slide, maintain physical distancing and wipe down surfaces after use. You may see this decal in certain copier areas, those that may need to use the kitchen and other places that like that. We definitely want to make sure that we're keeping a clean environment for our saints to come and partake of. Speaking of restrooms, as we just talked about, these are some decals that are listed right outside the restroom. So we want to make sure that the restrooms are not overcrowded with people. So we're asking, as you enter into the restroom, swipe the sign, the vacant occupant side to the left, to let people know that it is occupied. As soon as you leave the restroom, all you have to do is you can maybe use your elbow or use something to just slide it back to let people know that it's vacant. So the restrooms in the building, we're allowing 3 people in the restroom at one time. Just we want to keep proper distance away from one another and to not put anyone at risk unnecessarily. Our next slide, you'll see these in the building. So this is not an actual decal, this is an actual hand sanitizing station. So we want to keep this available for our saints to use to properly sanitize their hands whenever the need arises. So these are floor decal directional arrows. Those that have been into the building or those that are planning to come back very shortly, you'll see these as we have this directed. As soon as you come into the building to actually go up to the steps one way, and we have another set of decals facing the opposite way for directional use. So if you're coming up to the sanctuary, it's one way you can take. As you're leaving the sanctuary to come downstairs to the new building, there's another set of arrows that you want to take for those set of steps as well. So we're asking that everybody use these so we won't have a lot of people coming up and down the stairs at the same time in the same area, to keep our distancing where it needs to be. All right, maintain physical distancing. Please wait here, 6 feet. So this is where everyone in the sanctuary will be sitting. We have, and Brother Nash will talk about that a little bit more in detail, but everybody is sitting at this particular decal on the floor of the actual pew where you'll be sitting. So everybody is sitting at this particular spot. We don't want anybody sitting at a spot that does not have this decal. It's very important. We want to make sure everybody keep that social distancing so we can make sure that all of us are basically in a safe state where we're not coming in close in contact with one another. That's all I have for you. Brother Nash will now talk about the worship.
So I'll be discussing the worship service procedures that have changed due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot has changed with how we go about our daily lives. The same is true at Central regarding our worship services. We're glad that we're able to assemble for worship, but we want to continue to ensure the safety of each and every member when we come together. With that in mind, Brother McKinley, Brother Bryant, and I collaborated to adjust our protocols for worship services. So the most notably what has changed is seating accommodations, prayer requests, offering, and communion. Let's talk about seating first. We've set up the seating bowl so that members are seated more than 6 feet from the closest person in front, behind, and on each side of them. Our ushers are responsible for seating all members. This helps to ensure that all members are appropriately distanced, it keeps traffic flowing, and it aids the ushers with tracking available seating. So this is how it's laid out. Members are occupying every third row, leaving 2 unoccupied rows between each occupied row. Our occupied rows are marked with orange stickers on the tops of the pews and social distancing markers on the floor. The markings identify which rows they can sit on and where they can sit on the row while still following social distancing practices. We start by filling up the lower seating bowl, and once it is full, we send members to the balcony. We give lower level seating priority to our seniors, however. Now let's talk about our worship service procedures. Our goal is to space everybody out and to make everything as contactless as possible. One change you may have noticed is that all brothers who speak during worship service are given their own mic and a socially distanced station. We've also changed our prayer request submission process, how our brethren take up the offering, and our communion procedures. So let's discuss the invitation. Members can submit their prayer requests through the church app from home or in person. If you are attending in-person worship, you can also submit your request online or pick up a prayer request card before entering the sanctuary, and an usher will collect it upon completion. With our communion and offering, we are now using communion kits for the Lord's Supper. During offering and communion, brothers walk along the empty rows directly in front of occupied rows to collect contributions and empty communion kits. We've also removed the singing during those portions of worship for everyone's protection while we're collecting. So the members and the brothers serving are not singing in close proximity to one another. Instead, we've chosen to read passages that are appropriate for that specific act of worship. I want to say in conclusion, we appreciate our members who have attended in-person worship service for working with us and having patience as we continue to look out for everyone's safety. Brother Bryant will now discuss security.
With respect to our parking, a general reminder that our parking privileges are provided to us as a courtesy of the owner of the Emerson Village Shopping Center. We are authorized to park only on the lower lot, as the upper lot is reserved for respective businesses within the shopping center. And we kindly ask that you respect the owner's request. Upon your arrival in the parking lot, your first contact after exiting your vehicle will be with our security officers who are stationed on the sidewalk as you exit the parking lot. The security officers will assist you in crossing the street safely, and for safety purposes, we ask that you please walk toward the security staff on the sidewalk before crossing the street. After crossing the street onto the church property, our security staff team will greet you on the ramp. You can be expected to be asked whether or not you completed the worship attendance survey, and you would also receive further directions if necessary. Our security staff would then announce you to our medical staff in order to expedite your processing as you enter from the bottom ramp entrance door. Parking ramp access. Parking ramp access is reserved for seniors and those that have special needs or those with special medical needs. And if you have a specific need, we ask that you contact the church secretary that we might have proper coordination. With respect to dismissal of our worship services, at the end of our services, in order to maintain our safe distancing and to avoid bottlenecks at our exits, we will use our emergency evacuation door exits during the dismissal. We will stagger the dismissal by the various sections whereby you will be seated in. We will stagger those exits at least 1 minute in between intervals, which will allow for continuous flow throughout the proper exits and avoiding the bottlenecks. We kindly ask that you do not congregate downstairs once you're down in the main lobby in order to avoid impeding the flow of traffic. We ask also that you please wear your mask as long as you are on the church campus. Thank you.
Due to COVID-19, how you prepare before leaving your home to come to worship at Central has changed. For the safety of our members, we've implemented a screening process to assist us with decreasing possible COVID-19 exposure. Each week, before arriving to the building, members will need to complete our COVID-19 pre-screening survey. The survey, which asks questions pertaining to the status of your current health, can be accessed through the link that is texted to members on the church app or on our website. All responses are kept confidential. You should answer the survey questions and check your temperature before arriving at the building. If you are not feeling well, please stay home and join us for worship online. Our health team administers screening checks in the lobby of the new side every Sunday morning from 9 to 10. When you arrive outside of the building, please check in with the brothers on the ramp to receive further instructions on where to proceed. If you've been pre-screened, when you enter the building, the health team only needs to check your temperature. If you haven't completed the pre-screening questions prior to arrival, our health team will assist you in completing the survey on site. If all is in order, you will receive a sticker signaling that you are cleared to proceed upstairs to the sanctuary. Upstairs, sisters are stationed outside of the auditorium to hand you a communion kit and a prayer request card if needed. If you take a prayer request card, please complete it as soon as possible and give it to an usher. However, you have the option of submitting a prayer request card on our app or online. Both will be read during the invitation. For everyone's safety, ushers will seat all members upon entering the sanctuary. When you arrive at the door, an usher will meet you to assist with seating and to make sure that everyone is properly distanced. Please sit where the social distancing markers dictate and refrain from relocating your seat once an usher has seated you. Once the lower level of the sanctuary is filled to capacity, ushers will begin seating members upstairs in the balcony. And once it is full, members will be sent to the overflow. Now let's talk about what happens during service. More specifically, during offering. If you're physically giving a contribution, when the brothers come around to collect, please raise your hand and they will use the empty row in front of you to collect your contribution. We will not be making change, so please come prepared with the exact amount that you plan to give. Following the Lord's Supper, the brothers will again use the empty rows in front of occupied rows to collect empty communion kits. When we dismiss, we will use our evacuation plan. Let's go over it now. Facing the pulpit, if you are sitting on the far right, you will use door number 2, located in the back right corner. Facing the pulpit, if you are sitting on the far left, you will use door 4, located in the back left corner, and you will leave the building using the ramp doors. If you are sitting in the front center sections, you will exit out of door 1, located in the front right corner of the auditorium. You will go down the stairs, proceed through the new fellowship hall, and exit on the ramp. If you are sitting in the back center sections, you'll exit using door number 3, located in the back in the center of the auditorium, and you will go down the steps and leave the building using the ramp doors. Other things you need to know. There are hand sanitizing stations strategically placed throughout the building. If you need to use the elevator, only 2 people can ride it at a time, and you must follow the social distancing markings. Now let's move on to talking about restroom usage. Outside of each restroom door, you will see vacant, occupied signage. The number of signage slots dictate how many people are permitted to enter the restroom at one time. As you enter, slide the sign to occupied, and when you exit, slide it to vacant. Please do not enter the restroom if all the slots are on occupied. Due to social distancing protocols, not every stall and sink can be utilized. Please follow the setup in the bathrooms, and remember to wash your hands before exiting. Finally, although the city of Baltimore has lifted its mask mandate, Central's COVID-19 protocols are still in effect. So before entering the building, please remember to put on your face covering and make sure you continue social distancing. We want to thank you for working with us through this process as we endeavor to keep all of our members safe.
We thank our COVID team for their expertise and their collaborative effort in putting this presentation together for our church's safe and a healthy worship environment. And of course, we thank you for your cooperation in advance in working together so that we may maintain a healthy worship experience. Again, we say to you, review the presentation as needed, and we know that you will help us as we help one another to maintain a healthy and a safe worship time. God bless you, and may He keep you.